No Simple Road is stoked to have Sunset Lake CBD back with us as our sponsor. Sunset Lake is the real deal. If you've looked around trying to find CBD and it just didn't do what it was supposed to do, this is the place you need to go. They've got every kind of product you can imagine, including CBD tinctures with sleep gummies that are great for getting to bed, CBD gummy bears and reishi-infused chews that can help bring you a little bit of calm in a stressful day. They've got salve. They've got smokable hemp flower that's great for folks like me that don't want to get stoned and paranoid but want to have the benefits of cannabis. Well, now you got it. And they even carry CBD products for your pets, man. I'm saying this is Darwin approved stuff. Go over to sunsetlakecbd.com and check out the full range of what they have. This is Vermont grown, right to your door, and they're giving you 20% off. So put in the promo code NSR20 when you're checking out. You're going to get 20% off your whole order. And I know you're going to love it. They even have subscription options open for you, so you don't forget to get your medicine. Go check out Sunset Lake CBD, everybody.
Why can't every day be like this? No Simple Road. Yeah, no, I've been on that road too.
And there is a road, no simple highway between the dawn and the dark of night. And if you go, no one may follow. That path is for
It's good when your parents need your talk therapy.
Yeah.
Yes.
My mom's really been needing mine over the last 3-4 years.
That's one thing my mom never does.
Dude, your mom
Never.
is... She, I said this the other day, your mom is literally on another level.
Hey now, No Simple Road family. This is Aaron.
This is Mel.
And Apple.
And we are here
And
with
Darwin.
Yes, we're with another edition of the No Simple Road Weekly Rewind,
Weekly
brought to you in
Rewind.
collaboration with Melt Premium Mushroom Chocolates. First step, go follow at Melt Mushrooms, MELTMUSHROOMS on Instagram. Next step, check out the amazing 9 different flavored mushroom chocolate bars they have. They have little singles now. They even have capsules.
Minis.
Yeah, minis.
minis.
Sorry.
Melt
That's what-
minis.
Melt minis. There is 4 grams of their sacred mushroom blend in every regular size bar, plus a bunch of adaptogenics and other stuff. So what you're going to do is you're going to shoot them a DM and you're going to say, hey, No Simple Road told me about you guys. You're going to get a menu from them. Then you can make your order and they'll deliver it right to your house. And you're going to get 30% off a bar. So
What?
go
30%?
over there. Follow
That's
at Melt Mushrooms.
That's no joke.
No, it's no joke. And
It's family taking care of family. That's what that's about.
you know what else is no joke?
What?
We have an actual guest for the No Simple Road Weekly Rewind.
You know,
Yeah, this is something special.
This is actually I'm excited, even though I was a part of this conversation, I'm really looking forward to hearing it because
We talked about a lot.
we covered a lot of ground. And when I first met Blake, well, I met him.
Well,
We met
wait,
him a
wait,
lot.
wait.
Oh, wait. We have to say who it
The
is.
guest on our show
Yeah.
is Blake.
Blake.
It's Blake.
Blake Boris-Schacter. I think that's how you say it.
Blake. I'm not even going to try to
Yeah,
pronounce
if
the
I
last
fucked
name.
it up, Blake, I apologize.
But
Hey,
Blake.
he is the owner and purveyor of one of our favorite venues in Portland, which you've heard us talk about many times, the Get Down.
The Get Down.
So if you've ever wondered what it was like to own a venue, you're going to know after this.
Yes.
If you've ever wondered what it was like to make sound right in a venue, you're going to know after this. If you ever wondered how ticketing works and why it's fucked, you're going to know
You're gonna
after
know.
this.
He is all about the industry that he's in. And you want to know something cool? I saw on Instagram, it was this guy, he stops people that are either cool or driving a nice car or whatever. And it's like, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? Can I ask you a couple questions? And
No.
he's like, most people just kind of walk away. But this guy was talking, he was his success or whatever. He's like, can I just ask, a couple questions about your success? And he was like, yeah, he's like, what business were you in? He's like, told him what business he was in. He's like, what advice would you give somebody just starting out? He's like, be an expert in what you're talking
That's
about.
Blake for sure.
And this is what Blake is about. He knows what he's talking about. The Get Down was years and years in the making.
Yeah,
this is a dream of his.
Yeah, this is his brainchild.
Yeah. And so to be able to talk to somebody who has birthed their dream and is still going at it, and it is not easy. It is not easy owning a venue.
No.
It's not easy owning any kind of commercial property.
It's not easy doing a podcast.
No, it's not. But
It's no simple road.
this is a great conversation, and we had an awesome time in the studio. It was like an evening. It was
Blake is one of those people that is always on.
yeah.
Like every time I've seen him, he is 100% going.
Anytime
And I don't mean that he doesn't give you his full attention.
That's what I was about to say. Every time I've interacted with him, whether he's on or whatever, he's always been
It's
like
100%
personal.
present.
Yep,
Yeah,
present.
he's one of the most engaging people I've ever met.
And
Like-
that kind of intentionality and passion for just the moment really does overflow into running the venue and the way that it's done and everything that he did there. So y'all,
This is you're in for a
this
treat.
is a really, really fun, interesting. When we were done with the conversation, I felt like I had gone to like a college,
like a 101.
seminar or a TED Talk.
And he said too, like he shares a lot of information here, but it's still like he says towards the end of this, it like just scratched the surface. He could do a full podcast on each of the subjects.
Oh yeah.
And everything. So it's so knowledgeable in all these fields that go into running a successful club and dealing with everything.
When Joe his friend Joe, which we had on a couple weeks back, was talking about him when we were at the Flaming Lips concert, and then Blake just happens to
come
walk up,
strolling up.
and we had met him before, but this second time was like the time where we actually like got to like talk to him for a minute, and after that interaction I was like, I want him on the show. I want to talk to him about the ticketing. He's so passionate about it, and like, you know, if you just say ticketing, that's not the most interesting subject in the world, but his passion makes it the most interesting subject in the world. You know,
people like this, like Blake is doing exactly what he was put on this earth for. And it's evident.
Thank you, Blake, for all the beautiful, fun times that you have cultivated for all of us. You know, even waiting out in the line outside at the Get Down is fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So I just want to say kudos and congratulations and thank you for
and also
hanging.
Blake, thank you for being a friend of No Simple Road.
Yeah.
Not just the three of us individually and together, but like a friend of the show and allowing us to do the No Simple Road holiday Get Down from the Get Down.
Yeah, he helped us craft that from
that
the
whole
beginning
thing.
to end.
We didn't know what we were doing.
No.
And without his help, we wouldn't have been able to.
And it
pull
was
off.
a success, and we're bummed that you couldn't make it, but it was such a success and so fun to do. And honestly, like being at the Get Down, it was the best venue we could have ever had.
Yep.
Like if we could have picked any venue in the town in Portland,
that's the one.
That's the perfect one for us.
And you'll hear it get a whole. I was not aware of what Meyer sound was.
Nor was
until
I.
We talked about this. So it's education and like top of the line sound system. And
I was saying
man,
Mayor.
the place is
It's definitely
amazing.
not Mayor sound.
It's not.
No Johnny Salami.
That's
in
like the
Get Down.
knockoff of Meyer.
Yes, that's the baloney. You know, right now, in the future, right now in the future, you and I are on the beach in Mexico.
No.
Yes,
Is
it's
this
Monday.
coming out on Monday?
Yeah.
Not tomorrow Monday.
Oh, the other.
Yeah,
the
the
next
following
Monday.
You and I are on the
Monday.
beach in Mexico right now. We have
We had
just spent
4 days of
Oh, did we
fish.
did I just have my seaweed wrap?
Yeah, you just went to
My
the spa.
skin is glowing. I feel soft as Jasper's cute little feet,
I'm asleep in a chaise lounge under a palm tree.
and I'm perfectly hydrated. I just thinking about Fish's creative, fun, cool, silly time, and looking forward to the flight back to come visit my adorable little 4-legged son.
Yeah, our dog's
Darby.
gonna miss us.
Yeah, that's okay. Unky Appy's going to
Yeah.
be spoiling him.
He's gonna come
and
out.
taking
We're gonna
care
get
of
here. He's gonna
him.
be like 20 pounds heavier.
With gas, all bloaty. Like,
Poor little knees are all like
you guys are back already? Shit. So I have just one question. How was that churro, Aaron?
Dude, I'm going to tell you, the latte at the airport on the way there
It's a
is
standout.
the standout. But a close second is the churro that I had in the future.
Ooh, and that hat that Andrew pulled off was incredible.
Yeah, amazing. All right, everybody, we're being silly.
We are
Sorry.
being silly. We're projecting
You know
into the
that
future.
No Simple Road is serious business, and let's
we're
continue to be
serious.
serious.
Yeah,
here.
we'll get the real recap
Yeah.
once they get back and recover a little.
Yeah.
Okay, Aaron.
Yo,
What was your favorite thing about the interview?
with Blake,
Yeah.
learning about the sound and how they did the sound in the Get Down.
Right on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Apple.
I the same thing,
Of
but
course.
to top that was Blake giving us the personal invite to come down sometime when the club's not open to listen to some classic favorite albums on the sound system while laying in the middle of the floor. You know that is really exciting.
Mel?
And
Are you done, Apple? Aaron's cutting everybody off. Are you that
no.
fast?
No, that's it. That I mean, basically
down,
the
babe.
entire conversation, just learning the knowledge that Blake has and his passion for everything that he does, and always does it with a smile.
Aw.
That's true.
That's
He is
true.
always, even if it's not on his face, his eyes smile.
That's true.
Aw, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Blake, you're a sweetie Petey. Okay, mine is twofold. First thing was Blake's hair. Second thing was his story about Jam Cruise.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there
Oh
you
yeah,
go.
that was a good story. Yes.
Be
And-
on the lookout.
Yep. And just the whole thing. Thank you again, Blake. No Simple Road is a fan of Blake and the Get Down.
Yeah, man. And this is a perfect thing for the No Simple Road weekly rewind, because it's basically just us hanging out with a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And shooting the shit and learning some stuff. So that's what the rewind is all about. And I think this is a perfect representation of that.
Yeah.
So
See, you're
we're
welcome, Aaron.
Yeah, thanks, Mel. So we are going to do the business and get you there. How about that? You know by now, okay?
Where to
everybody?
follow us?
Yeah, at No Simple road. You can go to our website. It's nosimpleroad.com. We have merch. We have tarot readings. You can get a tarot reading. But
Those are fun.
The most important thing, seriously, right now, is our Patreon. We really need people to join the Patreon and get involved in the community that's being built over there. It's really dope, and it's an extension of us. So if you're a fan of No Simple Road and you're not already part of Patreon, go to patreon.com/No Simple Road. Sign up for $1, or you can even sign up for free and see what's going on. Check it out, poke around, and then decide if you want to do it. And just help us out, man. That's how we make money on this show, besides the sponsorships. And, that's the way it works.
The second most important thing is leaving a 5-star review. It's super important because that whatever dumb algorithm, whatever it does, it shows people that may like the show. Hey, look at these people. Look at what they've written about the show. So we need those. That's almost as important as Patreon, because the more ears that listen to the show, the more people we will have join the community, and it grows.
Yep, the mycelial
Help us
network
with our
grows.
exposure.
So yeah.
But most of all, everybody, just tell somebody you love about No Simple Road. That's really the way it works. When you hear something from somebody that you trust and love, that it's cool, then most likely you're going to dig it too. So you should tell somebody about the show, and then they can tell somebody, and then they tell somebody, and again,
And it just keeps rolling.
Well, then one more thing that's fun is 971-808-1524, which is our tepid line.
Yeah, you got 3 minutes. You can call that thing, leave a message. You got 3 minutes to do whatever you want. You could tell a joke, sing a song, I don't know, tell us a campfire story, tell me a ghost story, tell me something paranormal that happened.
Tell us your favorite album.
Tell me about the time you
album
got
review,
abducted by
show
aliens.
review.
I don't know.
Oh my gosh, tell us that you got this cute little puppy and the name and where you got it and like whatever is fun.
You get the idea.
Yeah.
Open mic.
971-808-1524. And that is that. Let's get him to Blake.
All right.
I was just going to throw out real quick too, if you're interested in what they're doing at the Get Down, you can go on the web, go to thegetdownpdx.com, and over on Instagram at Get Down PDX.
Yeah, there is definitely something dope happening most nights of the week over there. So
Yeah.
if go check out the calendar.
Their calendar is full of fun.
Yeah, for sure.
I say that's one thing. Well, this will be after I go do that. But Friday night, I'm going to see Banshee Tree and Yak Attack
Woo!
on Friday night. That's going to be fun.
And
Yeah.
they just had Le Special and Sponge, which is another double trouble trio.
Yeah, man.
Trio. Well, I mean, kind of
Double trouble duo.
Duo.
There
Thank you.
go.
I don't know why I said trio.
Yeah. Well,
I was thinking of Le Special.
is
I was,
Special
yeah, I
is a
was,
trio.
I was thinking of
Yeah.
Le Special, but then that's leaving
and of
Sponge
course,
out. And I
Sean
don't know.
McLean had to sit in with
With
them.
the special, yeah.
Yes.
All right, here we go. Without further ado, the No Simple Road crew gives you
Blake.
So so I had this almost 8 years, but I'm older than that. So I had this haircut when I was way younger, like when growing up. Like my mom that's
Yeah,
kinda
that was
look
your-
that she was looking for. And then middle school, I wanted to be cool, so I cut the hair and I thought this is what the thing that's gonna make me cool, blah blah blah. And so I ended up that in it was like 10th or 11th grade, my friends had this like intervention. And they were and they were like, we don't think that your hair matches your personality. They were like, we think that you should bring back the fro, because they had seen the pictures, and like a group of them, like 4 of them, like close friends of mine, all got together. Like, we just want to see it. We think you should
hair
bring it back.
intervention.
Yeah, there was like a hair intervention. They were like, we
That's
think you should bring
great.
it back. We think it matches. Like, you look way too serious. Like, we think that like this will match you better. And I was like, you guys are really passionate about this. They were like, yes, like we really want to see it. I was like,
That's
okay, fine,
hilarious.
I'll bring it back. So I rocked the fro from whatever it was, 10th, 11th grade, around then, all the way through to when I moved out to San Francisco to start my kind of career. And I was like, okay, corporate environment.
Can't rock the fro.
I'm gonna bring
Get serious
cut it back.
again.
And so the fro was gone for probably, I don't know, I guess 4 or 5 years, basically post college. So it got to be like 4 or 5 years. So anyways, Beth sees pictures of me with this hair after the first year of us dating, or 2 years or something. Maybe even 3, and because there was some crossover there with living in San Francisco and dating her, and so she was just like, I want to see it, and so it was kind of a similar thing where I was just like, well, like that part's kind of gone, blah blah blah, like that was before. She's like, no, like I think it'd be really fun, and I was just like, as we were down there, I'm like, no, and then we move up here, and it's cold again. And it's like, like maybe I'll just leave it. And so I just didn't come. And one of my logic behind it is like, I think one of the easiest things I could do for my partner is just not cut my hair. Was kind of my logic. My
Less maintenance and she'll dig it. Like
Exactly. So I did it for winter, and then I got sick of it towards when summer came on. So I cut it,
yeah.
and then I let it go long again for another winter, and now it's just become a seasonal thing.
That's
so
rad.
So we
Yes.
know that
Seasonal-
next winter, Blake will have
the fro will
rock
be
the
back.
fro.
I like that because it gives you a little different look.
It gives you variety,
Right?
some
Yeah.
spice. There's the awkward phases though on both sides
Yes.
that aren't as fun.
yeah,
but,
no
shit. Definitely.
You put up with them.
So how much is this growth? Like how many months?
This is so I probably stopped cutting it around probably mid-September was probably the last time I cut it.
that's
It
a
grows
good-
pretty fast.
Yeah, that's a good amount.
In
Yeah.
case all of you listening are wondering who the fro belongs to, we're sitting with Blake Boris-Schacter. He is the owner, entrepreneur of the best goddamn venue here in Portland, Oregon, the Get Down.
Get Down.
And yeah, man, we're stoked to have you hanging out with us.
What
today.
else did we leave out, Blake? Anything else that people need to know that you do or that you are?
Well, loaded. But I think for our media purposes, that's great. I'd
Okay.
say my main identification at this juncture is that.
All right.
but
All
but
right.
still appreciate it. Yes.
All right.
So Blake, the Get Down obviously is our favorite place to see a show here in Portland.
Obviously.
And yeah. And there's a lot of reasons why.
Yeah.
Before we knew you, we felt like that.
Yeah.
That is true.
You've cultivated something really special there. And it's very intentional. You know what I mean? After talking to you, you had a vision for what that place was going to feel like and sound like and look like and all of it. Can you take me through that just a little bit and tell them like a little bit of what the vision was for the Get Down in the beginning?
Sure. So, that space specifically, I think there were some things that were kind of principles that I went into the Get Down with the intention of doing. And then I think there's also what that space was able to be. And I looked at, over 100 spaces in Portland, and, that particular space, when I walked into it, I mean, it's one of the closest showcases of true love that I've ever personally experienced. Like, I knew when I walked in to those doors that this was the right one. And I think it's for a lot of the reasons that other people, just from a layout perspective, really love about it. It creates a separate space to really dig into the music and enjoy it, and separates us different areas for different experiences, like being able to talk to friends, or be able to sit down and take a break, or be able to get a drink while still adjacent to the experience, but creates this separate intentional, hey, I'm going to experience the music now, while not making it so that you're so, you're pulled away by, these people, talking, or the bar operating, or all these other things. You get to be immersed, and you actually walk down a small set of stairs to get to that moment. And it's kind of a nice circumstance as well with just the name, which came up about.
Shit.
So
I never even put that together.
That you get down to the Get Down.
Yeah.
So I actually came up with the name 10 years ago, way before that space, but something that I noticed was like, you actually get down into it. It works really well for it. But then you do it again to get down into the dance floor section. And so it has all this purposeful nature that just was, somewhat, there's a word for this. There's a whole movie on it and I can't think of it. Something when it's not ironic, but it's like
I can't think of it either. Synchronistic.
Yeah, there's a sure. Let's
Synchronicity.
Go synchronicity.
Serendipity.
Serendipity. That's the one I was going for. Thank you.
Winner.
With John Cusack.
Wait, here we go.
Wait, I can name the cast too.
Good job, Apple.
John Cusack and Kate Beckinsale are the stars in that one.
Yes.
Great holiday movie.
So in the last year, I mean, how many shows have been at the Get Down in the last year?
We just did the post on this. I think that it was 132 shows.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay, who's your favorite that came through? Like, personally, your jam.
In the last year, in general,
In the last year.
In the last year, favorite that I love the most. I love Cut Chemist. His 45 set is probably my favorite set that's been at the Get Down for this year, which was amazing. It was this basically it's 50 years of hip hop, and so he decided to come out to the Get Down with his 45s, which was a big deal because if people know somewhat of his history in playing in Portland, he had a show decades ago. I'm not sure exactly when it was, but he flew out to do a 45 set and his 45s were stolen.
Oh, shit.
Not lost at bat. They claimed lost, but it ended up being this whole thing. And so it was, these very rare 45s. So when he came the first time, he came with Charlie Tuna, and that was our first year. And he said my favorite quote that's ever happened on the stage. And so that was our biggest show at the time. It was a really important one. So it was during his sound check, and I can swear on this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So he does sound check. So he got on stage. He goes to turn on. Well, at first he's 15 minutes late because he was like, "Hey, I'm busy shopping for records. It's taking a little while to check out. Like this is very on brand." So I was like, "It's fine. You're allowed to be late, Cut Chemist, to sound check because you're shopping for
but
records."
Portland's got dope record shops.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my God. Every time. It's one of the reasons he likes playing here so much. But anyways, he ends up he ends up going on stage to start and plays probably 2 seconds of music, and then he stops it. And I'm in the room, of course, watching because it's a big sound check. I'm like, oh no, like something's wrong. And he gets on the talkback mic and he just goes, "It sounds really fucking good in here. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves."
Oh shit!
Yeah.
And so, of course, one of my favorite things I've ever heard. But anyways, he had a great time at that show. And so, but one of the things that he realized about, so that stage, which some people probably don't know, is crafted somewhat with scratching in mind, because I really, really like scratching. And one of the things that's really important with scratching is a really, really, really solid surface. Because if you have too much vibration or interference from bass or anything like that, it's going to be a problem. So that stage is a custom build that was by this woodworker who ended up, he's basically like a furniture designer most of the time. And then he hired people that had done staging at like Pickathon and stuff like that build temporary stages. So designed by this fine furniture maker, but then done by these people who know how to do temporary staging. And so there's actually a 6-inch layer of rock wool across the entire top part. And then there's 2 tons of sand surrounding the bass trap to make sure that it doesn't move.
Oh, wow.
Whoa. Holy shit!
It's loose in there, by the way. So like, we're going to try to be there for a long time because no one wants that stage moving. I'll tell you that. But because of that, it created this really, really solid foundation. And so I explained that to him when he came in, because I always like to talk to the scratchers about that. And so he came up with this idea of like, okay, well, I want to do a 45 set next. And so this was his first 45 set that he'd done in years. And so he ends up coming out to do that one for the 50 years of hip hop, and basically does essentially an education session while he's doing it. It's like, this is where this sample is from. And so what he'd do is he'd have like the original like funk 45 of some like late 70s thing that was really hard to find. But then he'd also have the DJ Shadow 45 remix of that particular song.
Oh,
and
shit.
he'd cut between, so he wasn't using like a computer to do it. He was just cutting between these 45 sessions, but he'd use like multiple versions of the same song.
That's so dope.
It was
How-
awesome.
to be able to find that.
Yeah, he again broke out the deep collection. I mean, he has
Wow.
he digs deep 45s.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fact that he had gotten it stolen previously in Portland, and then after experiencing the
To come
venue,
back and do
decided,
that.
you know what, I'm going to come back and I'm gonna do it. I'm going to do it here. It was definitely
Well, shout out to the
That's
Get
it.
Down for inspiring that, because that's pretty. If an artist wants to come back, especially after being freaking robbed of his, like, basically his, like, that's your
his craft.
yeah, his craft, and then to do that, right on, man.
What a mind. What an insanely creative, capable, beautiful mind to be able to like in real time
Yeah.
cut that together and make it sound like something.
To do that without the use of, you know, computer programs, looping samples, all of that. Like, he just did just raw 45 cuts.
Wow.
And it was, I mean, amazing.
Obviously his name
Well,
is
and kudos to you too for, I mean, that's some attention to detail to build the stage like that and get that done. That's dope.
what
Wow.
what started your love of music?
Love of music. Well, so I think a lot of people will probably have similar stories. At least I know multiple friends that do, where when it comes to recorded music, it started with when my parents showed me. And then in my teenage years, it was rejection of what they showed me because I was too cool for that. And then it was realization later that it was
Coming back
actually
to it.
awesome and that I should go back to it. And so for recorded music, there was a lot of that. There was, you know, when I first started falling in love, whatever I was listening to was like the thing that spoke to me and blah, blah, blah. And that was just timing. I would say that I treat recorded music and live music as two together but very separate categories. They have different listening experiences. I have different love of different versions of all of those types of things, and sometimes on the mood for one and not another. Similar to genre, but honestly it just has a different, it's like a different quality. It's a different thing for me. And so for live music, which for me I think is where I equate to doing the Get Down and all of that, was I remember the moment very specifically. So I had seen I was into like Red Hot Chili Peppers. My first concert ever was Ozfest, mostly because I wanted to see System of a Down. And so that was great. And you know, I'd seen live music. I don't know how many times at that juncture, but I was younger. I was probably like 17 at this time, 16 or 17. And my next door neighbor, still my best friend to this day, or one of my best friends, Eli Forrester. His mom was a reviewer for the Boston Globe. Her name is Joan Anderman. She has many, many articles and currently has a band. But she basically needed a dog sitter. And so she said, hey, Eli is going to be out of town next time Radiohead comes through. Would you like to go to Radiohead in exchange for walking the dogs?
Absolutely, I would.
What?
Well, so that's the logical conclusion that I would, of course, have now. But at the time, I wasn't that into live music. It was like something that I would see. And Radiohead, I knew Karma Police and Creep. That
Of
was
course,
Yeah.
that's what we all knew.
And so I asked my friends, should I go? And like most of them were like, yes, you absolutely should go. And so we listened. I remember being in my basement, just listening to OK Computer. But I was listening to OK Computer while like talking with friends. It wasn't,
Yeah.
I didn't have any experience like that. And so, but I was like, sure, I'll go. And I also blamed Joan for the fact that I probably ended up wanting to own music venues and run them because, you know, she spoiled me out the gate. Like this was one of my first concerts and I was 6th row dead center for Radiohead.
Oh my God.
Because she worked for the Globe.
Because she worked for the Globe and she was a music reviewer. So every time I'd go to her show with her, like I went to Crosby, Stills and Nash and just sat below Steven Stills in the photo pit for the first like 3 songs because again, you get spoiled for that type of stuff, right? But anyways, for Radiohead, they opened up with 2 + 2 = 5. It was on their Hail the Thief tour, and I literally had like the moment that happens in movies. Like it was like the world just disintegrated around me, and I was just absolutely just blown away. It was the first time that music had gotten me like that. Went home, got all their albums, like all of like just total obsession, and it just triggered this whole thing. And that's one of the reasons I do like to separate it, because while I think that it was a slow build for recorded music, and that I ended up liking different parts of recorded music and different things that I got attracted to. There was one moment with Radiohead that just literally turned something that was probably a 3 to a 10, like in one song, pretty much.
Yeah, no,
They are that kind of band.
Opening song, or was it another song in the?
No, it was 2 + 2 = 5.
Yeah.
And they did that, and to
Okay.
sit down, stand up, the first 2 off the album, and then they had timed. It was the 3rd or 4th song of the set, but they timed "Sail to the Moon" to happen right when the full moon was starting to rise behind the stage. And it was just, again, just one of those, just like the whole thing is euphoric. Like I remember it.
What venue is this?
This is Tweeter Center in Mansfield, Mass, I guess.
Okay.
Outside Boston. It's basically it's Shoreline.
Okay, it's every outdoor.
It's every outdoor amphitheater type thing, except it takes 3 hours to get out of the parking lot there. Or at least it did, probably still does. I don't know why it would have improved.
You just said something that really made something make sense to me that I've never thought about it that way. Is like, I mean, I've talked about my first Grateful Dead show on this show a million times. And I had that experience at that show, like mind opening explosion, changed my whole life thing. But I never thought about like, prior to that, I'd been to a million concerts. Like we'd seen Metallica and Ozzy and Santana and everything. But that was just going to a concert. This was different. This was where live music became a living thing. And the experience happened. That was the first time I felt that. And I think that experience, it's religious. That's a religious experience. I think that's partially what people are talking about when they
Or
meet,
spiritual.
Yeah, spiritual.
Mhm.
Like when they meet a guru and they have that head opening experience. And I think that is I don't know, man. I feel like if you haven't had that like, it's like going through life, not seeing life in color almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I tell you, and thinking of that, like he said, and I mean, we all talked about that aha moment with the Dead and stuff. I was like, my first one that I remember was Rush, moving pictures at the Aladdin Theater. When my sister had to take me with her and her friends, and I loved Rush. I had a huge poster on my wall, and I got to go see Red, and hearing them do Tom Sawyer live and hearing that whole album in its entirety.
That would be dope.
I was just like, I was 12, 13, and just like puberty age, like boner for the music. Like, I gotta go. And my sister didn't want me to go, but like her 3 hot friends were with her. Oh, Jimmy. So I got like this treatment, the young kid, and then to see Neil Peart doing a drum solo was like, oh.
You know, having that experience gives you a different kind of outlook, I would think, owning a venue, because you want to craft a space for people to be able to have that themselves.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that I care about so much for the Get Down is, you know, I think that live music and the venue that you're seeing it in is such an important relationship. Like, bad venues, just like a bad sound system, or just like someone talking directly in your ear the entire time, it will ruin your experience.
Yes.
And we want to create as seamless an experience in terms of creating a best place for you to have enjoyment as possible, as long as that enjoyment's not hindering someone else's enjoyment.
Right.
Yes.
You know, that's really what we want. And, you know, that starts with, you know, all of the staff, that it starts with the, you know, the state of the bathrooms, that starts with how quickly it takes to get a drink as much as we possibly can, and great sound and room to dance and all of those things that are so important. And the thing is, like, I also believe that happens on the opposite side that people don't see that's so important. I remember having everyone orchestra there, and that was like the 4th show that we had, and the band was just a little bit tired. They'd played the night before. They had all like had to drive, like all of that. And like, I saw some tiredness in them when they were first there. And I saw that pick up as they got the experience that they didn't know the venue at all. They were all local musicians, and they just experienced the new, but experienced the positive. Like, oh, this stage is really nice. Or, oh, this place is nice. Oh, this green room is nice. And I saw them pick up the intensity of how interested they not necessarily were. They're all professionals. I'm sure they would have done great anyways. But I think excitement, or, you know, someone being passionate about, you know, oh, I'm really happy to be here, that comes from the audience, but it also comes to the artist. And then when that can combine, that's where you get the best experiences. Like, I'm a big Red Rocks fan, and I've been to many shows there, and so many of those shows that I've seen there, when I've seen bands, it's one of their best performances that I've seen. And that's not out of chance. That's because the artist is excited. It's because the audience brings that excitement to them.
Yes.
So, you know, we're not going to be Red Rocks, but we can be a place that people get really excited to go to on both sides, both the artists. Again, for someone like Cut Chemist to have the, you know, having played so many venues, but be like, I really like this one, and being excited about coming. I mean, even the 45 set, to go back to it, he told me, when he most recently came, he was so excited to be there for the one that he was currently at. But he also talked about the last one, because he was just like, you know, I tried it at a lot of other places, and this one was the best one. And he was like, maybe it was the first. He was like, maybe it was the first one. Maybe it was because it was the first one. But I think it was kind of something about this place. And so for him to say something like that, again, is like very humbling, but it's also something that is thought out and curated. I want people to be excited to walk into the room from both sides of the aisle, because I think that's where you get the magic.
Well, I mean, these artists are playing multiple venues in countless different cities. They know if there's magic, or if it's special, or if, like you just said, like something about the green room, or something about the bathroom, or something about the people. Like, they can pick up on that, you know? And I remember when we were talking to Spafford, they mentioned it. They mentioned the sound. They mentioned how much they enjoyed being there. They mentioned the energy of the previous night. And that was like, he's like, you know, we don't always get one of those shows where we're completely in it and the music is playing us. We got that last night and we want to bring it again. Like they felt that too. And that was, I know that when we did our show, that there was a lot of excitement in the back room from the guys too that we were with. We had Sean McLean, we had Love, we had all these different, and everybody was stoked about being at the Get Down. So there's definitely something in the air, something about the venue.
And without naming any names, because we're not here to shit on anybody's thing, but we've been to one other venue in particular here where like the show might have been good, but it was so distracting because the room was wrong. And it was hard to even have any kind of anything. It was
a
like,
connection with.
I'm uncomfortable and want to be out of here. That was all I could think all night long.
And oversold small places just ruined when.
Well, we've walked out of plenty of shows because of the discomfort of our environment and not because the band wasn't doing anything particularly wrong. So I know that you're right. You said earlier, live music and the venue, that's a relationship. It's so true. The venue really, really matters.
And you're not only doing a service for the listener, but like you said, it's for the band too, because now they're comfortable. The green room is nice. It's got a fucking shower in it. You know, like
a bidet.
And it's spacious too. That means something. You got a whole band. You got a tiny green room. Like, I know not every venue has a space for it. Like, clearly that's reality. So you got to make do with what you got. And some people can really kill it and maximize a small space, but having the space for a band of like 5 or 6, that means a lot after getting out of the van.
And you got to think that's all they're seeing. You know what I mean? From the van or bus to the green room to the stage back on the road. Like that's their experience. So you giving that to them is huge.
Space, especially for medium to small size touring acts, is rare. And I do see that when it comes to them experiencing them, which again goes back to like, there's the principles that I want, and then there's also like, you know, the luck of finding that space, because it really is. I mean, we have to pay for it. It's expensive because of that. But we have 12,000 square feet for a 400 capacity venue. It's just a very rare circumstance that would be the case. But it creates, I mean, space. Honestly, it's the first. I've like a 5 or 6 keys to concert bliss on my website. Well, it's most of the things we've been talking about. You know, it's space, it's water, it's security, it's
clean bathrooms,
temperature. Yeah, I forget the exact ones. I wrote it when I first. It's on the website though.
Okay,
but space.
Look it up, guys.
Yeah, look it up. But space is such an important one. You talked before about the sellout thing, and as you said, like this isn't to attack anyone in particular. I can kind of just say it as a general rule when it comes to indoor venues and sold out shows, unless you happen to have a special spot to stand in. And I know at least all my friends who are real concert goers, they know how early they have to show up to a show to get the spots that they need to be able to enjoy that show at whatever venue it is.
Otherwise you're slammed against the back wall or smashed on the side.
Or you're in a bad sound spot. And
that's the worst.
You get under a balcony where you have no repeater against a wall that has no treatment. Like it just creates such a bad experience. I mean, I'm very sound sensitive. Like I'll end up, like if my friends want to stand in a bad sound spot, that is totally on them. I'm watching the show from a different place.
I'll catch up to you guys later.
Yeah, I'll see you later. Like it's fine. You're going to find me near the sound booth most of the time for most layouts, but there's some spaces where it's like, no, if I don't go and get this section, I'm not going to have a good time. Mm-hmm. And for me, you know,
that's what it's about.
Yes. And for me, I don't want it to be affected by New Year's. I don't want to be affected by, a sellout. I don't want to be affected by what time you want to show up or any of that. I want you to be able to show up and, you know, some people, you know, we know this with crowd flow with people. Like some people will, you know, walk in and be like, oh, I'm just going to stand here. Like as long as you put some effort in, I think at the Get Down to finding your spot, the spot should exist.
No, you know? I'm curious because we've been there many times. To me, it doesn't seem like there's a bad spot. for sound.
The
there.
general rule that I like to tell people, and sometimes I'll move, there's that like side spot right next to the stage where for bands, it doesn't matter so much because there's amps and there's monitors, right? But if people are using in-ears, so there's no monitors and they're not necessarily using as loud amps, those side stage areas, while you get a good view, isn't going to sound as good. Now, people that stand there probably don't care necessarily as much, but the general rule, if you want to be getting the Meyer sound, is as long as you can see, it's just optical. As long as you can see the edge of one of the speakers and that grill is facing you somewhat, you're going to be getting somewhat centralized sound.
Is it Meyer sound in there?
Yes.
No, really?
Yes.
I didn't know that. So how does that work to like Meyer sound your venue?
Yeah, so Meyer Pro is a Meyer distributor that's in town here. Oh. And I'll tell a little story about the sound down there. So basically, Steve Harrell, who previously was also the lead at the Doug Fir, which I always thought was one of the best sounding venues in town.
It's such a cool spot. Well, it was a cool spot.
Yeah. And so Steve, when I got hooked up directly with him from another sound tech out of the Bay Area. And Steve looked at the space like, yeah, we can make this work. And he basically was in charge of finding what sound system we wanted for down there. And so I gave him a budget and he went to, an audio show and he gives me a call from the audio show. I remember pulling to the side of the road when he called me. I knew that he was going to call me when he was done at the show. He's like, yeah, we're going to go with D&B. He's like, I think it's, they sound good. I think that's what we're going to go with. And I was like, Steve, I told you I want the best sounding room in Portland. You don't sound excited. And he just goes, no, it's going to be good. And I was like, Steve, I want the best sounding room in Portland. Is this going to get us there? And he said, no. And I said, what do we need? And he said, I think we need Meyer. And I said, okay, price it out. And so I moved a little bit of money for different parts of the budget and ended up getting the Meyer system that's down there. And so I said before, I'm an audiophile somewhat, right? But
Same.
I'm not
It's not little.
right. Little that word. There's a scale.
Yeah.
especially at the top end, like it gets
scale.
real crazy.
Yeah, you see what we're using.
Yeah,
like
it scales with the money that you can put into it. I mean, like if you can no matter what sound equipment. I don't care if you're Jeff Bezos. It can even be expensive to you if you want to get all the way up there. So we're not going there, but I care a lot about it, and so when it comes to just like caring about just audio quality, as I said, I'll watch a show nowhere near my friends. In fact, no offense to them, but sometimes for the right show, it might be more enjoyable. Right. Just for not because they're not great to talk to, but because I don't want to talk. Right. Just full immersion, And so, there's me and then there's Steve. Steve is an audio tech that hears a lot, and the stuff that he likes, he's he like we have a Grateful Dead cover band. Like he likes Falling Dead and Company. He's seen Grateful Dead. When we have a Dead cover band or something somewhat similar, he always sounds a little bit louder in there because he's like you can always tell. You can always tell when the sound tech just like likes it a little bit more. Like that's just a little louder. He's like grooving a little bit more. The earplugs aren't in. He's not. He's fully immersed. And so he cares a lot. Of course, he's a sound tech. So I was like, okay, there's me, there's Steve. And then there's this guy, Tim, and Tim works for Meyer Pro. And so when we had this system brought in, it's a little bit crazy. So I got the space on February 20th of 2022. And I opened for the soft opening on April 2nd of 2022. So it was about 5.5 weeks. Not recommended as a timeline. Yes.
What?
So the ceiling in there, this is putting a bunch of stories together, but they're all related. So the ceiling in there is on 480 springs that are separated from the foundation. And the reason for that is we have a event center above us that when I first took over the space, or first looked at the space, and they had a quinceanera upstairs, it sounded like literal bombs were going off. It was never going to work. And other than really what the Doug Fir has, or the old Doug Fir space, which is just cement, which is the best thing you can do for sound, this was the best thing that you could do in terms of sound coming down into a space. So the springs do two things. They take the impact from above, and then they also, since it's decoupled from the foundation, they can actually kind of rattle with the subs. And so the transference is a lot better going up and going down.
Okay, that makes sense.
So that project, shocking, all construction projects, took longer than they were supposed to.
Dang it.
So
That never happens.
shocking, right?
Yeah.
And the other,
Costs more, takes longer.
well, and the other problem was, I'm initially from the East Coast and then lived in San Francisco and then moved up here to open this venue. And, this is my dream of 15 years that I have talked about for 15 years. So when it was actually happening, everyone that I've been close to and maintained these relationships with really wanted to be able to come, including, my parents live on the East Coast, etc.
Right.
You got to give some time for people to be able to make travel arrangements and all of that. But I also really didn't want to be paying too much money while we could still be operating because, this thing, as I said, is expensive and we need to ramp up immediately. So I chose that date in, late December that we were going to open on April, 2nd. It was supposed to be, the ceiling construction was supposed to be done by, mid to late January, but of course it ended up being late February. So then we find ourselves with, 5.5 weeks, which is a little crazy. So anyways, the sound system, the show that we were going to do for our soft opening on April 2nd was on Friday. Our sound system left the factory the Monday before because of course we're talking about COVID, production.
God.
Are you like during this week? Were you sleeping at all, or were you just like a mess?
That week, I wasn't sleeping for the entire 5 weeks. The entire 5 weeks.
Let's take that back.
Holy
I mean,
shit.
you can look up pictures of what it was called, the Keep. If you look up the Melody or my Facebook photos of when I announced the space, it didn't look that much like it currently does. It didn't lay out, but not in look and feel. And this is a good moment to shout out. You really know who your friends are when you have a request of people to paint a space that big black. Like none of the walls, none of the ceiling, none of that was done. It was not black. So we painted the entire thing black. We did it in 5 weeks. And I didn't have basically the sound system was I pulled that from Paint, and my lovely partner Beth was able to orchestrate a kind of she ran a little paint business in college, so she knew how to orchestrate this. And essentially, my friends came in, and it's one thing like you ask your friends to help you move. That's a day.
Yeah.
This was multiple days for 5 weeks of them coming in and handling high wall paint jobs, 2 coats of black. It was intense.
All by hand, or did you have sprayers?
No
or
sprayers.
Okay,
it was all hand rolled.
Lots of pizza and beer.
Dang.
Yep, pizza and beer, and so much love to all
Thank
of those
yous.
people. Thank you to everyone.
Patting on the backs.
No, it was a really, really incredible thing for them to come together and do that. But anyways, we, even that sign, we got that sign up, the Get Down logo. It came like Wednesday, so we got it up on Thursday for the Friday opening. But the sound system that got here, I think it was Tuesday. And so, as I mentioned, the ceiling, it can't take any weight. So what we had to do is we had to put all thread through to the floor above to hang the speakers. So we had actually run all the cabling because we tore open the ceiling to reconstruct this new one. And so we had to run all this cabling when we did that and put this all thread through. So it arrived, but then we had to install it, but it had to be installed, it wasn't mounted the same type of way. So it took a second to get everything in. And then we went to turn on the system, and the sound tech for Meyer, Tim, he chose, the first song he ever played on it was Call Me Al off of Graceland. And wept for sure in the middle because it worked. And you know, that moment of just hear that song will always hold something for me for that. So anyways, he played that just to play something and make sure it worked. But then the real work began from a sound perspective.
Tuning it.
So he came in. So we actually, I believe I got this. I believe I'm getting this correct. I apologize. The timeline was a little rough for me at this juncture, but I think we tuned it a little bit. And then we did the soft opening. And then he came back in the next week because I remember him having some time. So I'm assuming that that's what this was.
Yeah.
So he spent 3 days tuning this thing. And so he came in with a laptop on a little stand that had wheels and a microphone, again, on a stand, and would move maybe 2 feet. And he did a grid pattern throughout the entire thing. He would just click, 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 click. Click, 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 move to the next spot, click, click, click.
Oh my God.
And he'd sit and do this in white noise, because that's the best way to tune a room,
Right.
for 3 days. And so again, audiophile wise, I'm like, okay, well, this guy loves audio, but he's sitting in this stuff forever. And so the 3rd day I walk up to him like, Tim, I gotta be honest. This song sucks. And he just goes, it's my favorite song.
Oh.
Like that. He was a sound tech for years and years and years, but like instead of making bands sound good and then them doing stuff to it, he said he'd get so frustrated because it wasn't an environment that he could control, right?
Yeah.
Like you adjust to what they're doing on stage, but this environment he has full control. And so
Yeah.
for him, that level of passion and that level of audiophile, like that was a different
That's a
level
10.
for me. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
a
to
10.
be able to sit in
He's
white
a 10.
noise for 3 days, you earn the 10 badge.
Yeah.
For everybody listening that doesn't know what Meyer sound is, I would urge you to go do a little research on the web. Meyer is like the gold standard of sound in venues, and I could be getting this wrong, but I do believe that it has something to do with Owsley in the beginning.
They are out of Berkeley, California.
Yeah, I think that it might have like kind of started with him maybe being involved in that.
Which
somewhere.
would make sense
Yeah.
with audiophiles.
Yeah, the Dead used Meyer forever, and you can tell. Like, you don't even need to be an audiophile. You can, if you're paying attention, the rooms that sound the best are those rooms for sure.
I definitely have gained a different level of appreciation. So one thing, and I invite you three to come do this because it's really awesome.
Okay.
One of the things that I actually love about that system is going in and listening to albums on it. So,
Okay.
so I,
Oh, wow.
my friend Chris, who helps run, or is the founder of the group that I help run, called Heady Wax Fiends. He has this huge music collection. And so I was like, Chris, I need to send you a hard drive, but I need only FLAC files back.
Right.
I was like, just lossless. That's it. So he sent me a hard drive, including a lot of great live stuff and all that. But really what it comes down to is like, you want the Pink Floyds, the Steely Dan, like whatever the highly produced stuff. And then the lighting system's actually really fun to play with. I can show you how to do it.
I would
Oh
love
my gosh,
to
how
hear
fun. That
hear-
sounds like a great evening.
Electric, Electric Ladyland.
There you go. Exactly.
What? Yeah.
No, it's that type of stuff down there. It's actually one of my favorite. Like, no one down there. Just come down and set up a couple. Like, we can bring up some of the armchairs and set them out right in the middle of the floor and just do a
Heck
listening
yeah.
party out there.
Love that.
That'd be
It's
amazing.
just some of my favorite, like the early Santana albums.
There you go.
Like
Yeah.
early 70s. And oh, man.
Oh, yeah. That's good shit.
Yeah, I got all those on.
I want to talk
LP.
about just a small little,
Yeah, do
you
it,
know,
baby.
because you were saying jokingly, I didn't sleep for 5 weeks. And in this business, I'm sure that that's not the only time that that's ever happened where you've had to like literally give up not just sleep, but whatever is going on in your life, you know, food, you know, all kinds of money, all of that.
Health.
Hell,
sometimes.
exactly. How do you deal with burnout, like on a personal level?
Yeah. For the first year and a half, I couldn't really.
Yeah.
You know, the thing that, so there's a podcast that I like to listen to called How I Built This,
Mhm.
NPR podcast about, you know, entrepreneurs. And I like to listen for inspiration, because most of the time those episodes talk about how tough things are, especially when you hit those. And like, you know, there's some stories where it's like overnight success. I had this great idea. Those aren't the ones that I'm interested in. You know, like I want the ones that, like, you know, you slept on your office floor for whatever period of time and just sacrifice stuff.
Yes.
And, you know, the first year and a half, we didn't have the time. I mean, that time period between, really getting the loan, up until the point of, I don't know, maybe a year in. So again, like year and a half was, I didn't really have any time. It's every moment that I was awake and every moment going to sleep. Because the other factor of it as well, up until the point that I was, up until October 2022, I was working a different full-time job while doing it.
And you don't, I don't remember this. You don't have a partner, or you do?
I do. So
Okay.
Andrew, the bar manager, who I almost killed in that 5.5 year period. I didn't give him access to his bar because we were renovating so hard. He didn't have access to set up the bar until I think the Monday before we opened on the
shit.
Friday. It was like, cause we just had tiles everywhere. It just wasn't gonna be able to work. So apologies to Andrew, but he's the one who designed the bar program, which is, I'm very proud of that bar program. Like in general, when it comes to venues, not just quality of drinks, a variety, but also just, you know, service and all of that. I just think that he's done just such an incredible job building that program. And, you know, so for me, I knew that I needed to, you know, the bar, unfortunately with the music industry, just how it works, that is your profit center. Like that's where you're making money. It's like everything else is like a minor joke compared to the amount of money that has to come from the bar and operating the bar properly. And so I knew that if I was going to be able to really concentrate on running the business and the music side, I needed, you know, someone that I really trusted that was as engaged in making sure that the bar was as profitable and capable as possible. And so having an owner as well in that position was really important to me. So he's the only other active, there's, you know, friends and family around type of circumstance, but he's the only active owner in the space.
You know, I don't drink. And that's one of the things that I see missing at venues that I go to is like a variety of stuff for people that don't drink alcohol, right? I found my favorite drink on the planet at the Get Down. Like the Chicha Morada, dude. That stuff, I guess Mel got it the first time. I was like, what the hell is this? And to have...
Because I'm not a drinker either. And like, I enjoy having something that's not just water. I love water. I'm water all day.
Water at home.
But there's just something, you know, you having a drink with you, like, and when I read that, I was like, oh my God. And it elevated the experience. Just having a good non-alcoholic beverage that wasn't a Sprite or you know, or a Coke or something. It showed intention and it showed care for people that aren't drinking.
And cookies too.
Well, yeah, but like the details, it's in the details. And that's, you know, it's important. You're spending 2.5 hours at this place
or more if it's a jam band show with 2 sets.
Yeah, exactly. Or more. So you want to have a little bit of amenities, you know? And so that alone, that one drink was like, it made it for me.
Yeah,
like, it really made it.
You've really succeeded.
And then I'll speak for that. I've cut way back on drinking, but every time I know we're going to a show at the Get Down, I look very forward to having a cocktail at the Get Down because I don't drink a lot. I hardly drink at home anymore. I think I've had almost every cocktail there that's like on tap. My favorite now, I've been hooked on. I think it might have been Andrew I was talking to. He was explaining the ginger syrup and the
hand pressed.
Dude,
hand
oh
pressed.
my!
Serious?
Because it says on the menu, it says spicy, and I don't do. And he goes, no, the spicy is from ginger. I was like, there's no habanero something. He's like, and he explained to me how you do it, and I was like, I want that. Oh my God, that is so good, especially like when you have a sore throat or it's cold out. That drink is my favorite now.
So he's hand pressing ginger for your bar.
Yeah, we hand press ginger. He's got a centrifuge in the back. So in order to, because we have a lot of our cocktails on tap to make sure people can get back out there a lot quicker. So the centrifuge, what it does is he takes all the citrus that needs to go in there and sends it to the centrifuge, which takes out all the pulp that's in there. And then it actually takes out a little bit of acidity. So we have to re-add some acidity back into it before it goes in to get kegged. And then we do, let me see, there's one that kills you. There's one that's accurate. I think it's helium through the lines, not hydrogen. I think it's helium. We said helium through the lines in order to make it so that it has not unlimited shelf life, but 3 months, which is by far more than we need. Yeah. So even our wine that's in a keg there, because this is being sent through, it has that shelf life. So, but the thing is, he's using such fresh ingredients before they go in there that those batch cocktails, like when he first told me he wanted to do batch cocktails, I was very hesitant because most batch cocktails that I had seen or had are just a worse quality of the drink. But the drinks that he's been able to get out of that program are so good. And again, that, it speaks to, it's so important to try to think about, to the best of your ability, if I'm going to say, hey, we want a bathroom for all people, we want a bar for all people and all of that, you need to make sure that you're thinking about them, not just like, oh yeah, no, we totally have one type of water or something like that. It is important to have that variety. And the thing is, that's some feedback that we get a lot that people really like. And, I certainly do drink, but at the same time, when I don't want to or want something non-alcoholic, we got a lot of great options there. Yeah.
We digressed from your burnout answer.
I
you were going back to it.
Ask you something about it too. We spent the night before New Year's Eve at the Get Down seeing Spafford, and I saw you a few times during the evening, and you were working the whole time. And when I left, the place was almost empty. You were working still. So, do you ever get to enjoy the show anymore?
At the Get Down, it's a little bit difficult.
Okay.
The Get Down isn't really for me so much in terms of the enjoyment of it. So I went to DJ Shadow last night at Revolution Hall, and it was awesome. And I didn't pick up one drink and I didn't bust one thing, and I didn't talk. I noticed security talking to each other, and I'm like, this isn't my problem. When I, probably the first break that I took was going on Jam Cruise last year. And that was the first break that I had in
a year and a half.
Exactly. And I ended up, and we actually, so I was still nervous. This year, I'm doing it again and we're open. Last year, it was just closed because I wasn't there yet and feeling comfortable with it being open. We just went dark. And I told my friends when I was on Jam Cruise, please, if you see me cleaning stuff up, just tell me to stop. And so I think that there's some unlearning that I think needs to happen. I would love to sit down. So my goal for this year is halfway through 2023 to train everyone in the stuff that I do so that I never have to be there.
Smart.
And I think that by doing that, eventually when you guys see me in a year from now, I don't want to be wearing a security headset. I trust my team to handle it.
Yeah.
But there's also some, there's some stuff for me that I need to get used to. And there's also processes that I need to put in place. But it no longer feels like I'm dealing with the thing that I have to be dealing with right now. There's some planning that I can start doing, which is really exciting because in the end, there's a lot of things that I want to do that's a lot more big picture, not just with the Get Down, but beyond, that I feel that ability to start working with. But to be honest, and this might be a little bit about just who I am somewhat, if I'm running Raggin always and only doing the Get Down stuff and it felt like it wasn't necessarily getting what it needed to, and my brain was constantly being racked on how to fix it, the first 6 months, just from a financial perspective, that was completely unsustainable. And honestly, midsummer of that first year was very, very, very hard. Unbelievably so. But, now me working a lot, it's easier because it's not literal full throttle. And the other good news is there's change on the horizon, right? And that's an important factor for me as well. Spafford's a good example of when I'm going to be there because it's a big show and because it's New
Right.
Year's and because, I like those guys and want to make sure that I'm there for. And, I do think that like I showed up to something recently and I remember telling friends like, oh, I don't need to work tonight. Like I won't have anything to do. But immediately I found myself like I couldn't finish, I probably play, I was playing with my partner and my friend Mark. I was like, yeah, I can totally play a game of pool. And every time they went to start a cutthroat game, I was like, yeah, I'm in for this one. And then, one thing later, I was running around. So I think there's some of that adjustment that needs to happen. But I think the important thing for me is honestly like making sure that I'm progressing towards that. I don't think that I'm there, but burnout will happen if you don't have, if you're not releasing the pressure valve occasionally, right?
That was my whole point. Cause I mean, in 2 years, what you've done is incredible.
Still new.
Like it's still new. And how do you know what to do in 2 years? You have to figure it out to teach somebody. Like you were saying, trying to, pass that off, but like you're still seeing all the new stuff. So you're dialing it in, and I mean, honestly, seeing you working that night, but also you were still friendly. You're still yourself.
Yeah. I had fun with you.
You're approachable. Yeah. Not like when you're immediately in a specific task, but like, I mean, I just want to say kudos to how far you've come with your, your story. And you're just saying that, like seeing you work, seeing the people that you've getting at the get down, that looking at that calendar is like, I mean, you could go there every night of the week. Like straight up.
For real.
And like, it's hard to be like, oh, well, I don't, you're seeing all these people come in. You want to go to everything. And that the venue's amazing, So like, but yeah, so I just wanted to say kudos to you for that because it's apparent and your work ethic. And that's why I asked about burnout. Cause I know that you have that kind of just meeting you and stuff like that will to like, strive and make it great for everybody.
Well, and also the team that you've gathered there is top notch, man.
Yeah.
You don't seem like the kind of person like that would put up with shit from employees very long. Like you're a no bullshit kind of guy, I can tell. Like, and nobody's gonna fuck around. And so I think very quickly you probably weeded out the bullshit there, and you have a really solid group of folks that are doing the thing there. I've never felt anything but like welcomed and supported there. And even when like the line has been out the door and the whole spiel of whatever, still they were like nothing but sweet. And yeah.
Like your security, well, especially when we did our holiday get down and got to work with Lauren and the sound. We got to meet more of the people we hadn't before. Just an amazing crew. And one of the most annoying things at venues is security.
Assholes
that take it too seriously.
Goon squad.
Your
security. Kind of, but
does-
sometimes you have to be like that because people are belligerent. So I understand it. But when your attitude is like that, period.
And the security at the get down, they get the job done and they do it respectfully. Like I've seen them many times. They've done it to us. Like you need to go if you're gonna cannabis.
Take it across the street.
Go, and very nicely, very respectfully. In all the times we've been there, I've never seen any issues.
No.
Really. I'm sure there has been fights happen, things and stuff like that. But if it does, it's been very handled well. It's very comfortable there from the moment you get in line to everything.
It's the first people you interact with. And it's so to speak to exactly what we were talking about before in terms of the venue immersive experience. If you're constantly dealing with security that is treating you like you've done something wrong, it becomes especially if it's the first thing. Like there's plenty of venues where I'm like, okay, we just got to get through this part, and then you got to just suck it up, and then you have to like look around and make sure that like they're not just
gunning
constantly
for you,
right? Just looking for an excuse, right? And of course we have to deal with certain things, and of course the safety is most important. And then if you're disrespectfully to us or other patrons, so important. But the three things for me that are most important, I say this all the time, but it really, really is important. We've talked about two of them, and the relationship with each other, which is artists and patrons, but staff is my third pillar. It's so important. And I think that this is one that I do feel that so much of the time is the overlooked one, because of course you care about the patrons, but you know, it's a volume play for a lot of venues, and like, okay, you don't want to come back, like whatever. And then I think that with artists, they get treated well, probably they're probably the number one for most places. But you know, we do try to go above and beyond and, you know, provide some things that maybe others don't. But I think that, you know, a lot of them will look at that. But staff, especially, you know, this is an art. This is not an art. This is a passion issue. And I think especially in a capitalist society, passions, if you're passionate and you want to do it and they know you want to do it, they will exploit that element. And so you get paid less and you're told to work because it's, you know, again, the art is where it came in, like the exposure thing, or like, oh, you get to be around cool artists or whatnot, or cool artists and all that. And, you know, that's something that I really strive to not do. And it's a tough industry specifically for that. Like I've had to educate promoters and, you know, people on like why my venue costs a little bit more to rent. And it's because staffing is more expensive for me because I pay them better. One thing that I'm really proud of, well, two things that are related, I think. I didn't ask them specifically. They might have stayed anyways, but we have over a year, I think it's over a year, where other than one person moving, we've had no staff turnover.
Dang.
What?
Wow.
At a venue?
At a venue.
That's
yeah.
amazing.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's saying that says it all right there.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
And when it comes to security, you know, that is a really, really tough job in particular. You're dealing with a lot of bullshit.
Yep.
You're
That's all you're dealing with.
all the time. Box office, man, like I've subbed in for Kevin. Shout out to Kevin, the box office manager. Like he has had to put up with so much just people unable to just work their own phones, but then it's the same problem over and over and over. Like that'll test anyone's patience.
I lose my shit, man.
Please keep the waters. Like he says it's same with security. You say the same things over and over and over, and you have people that are, you know, more inebriated or less inebriated or whatnot, but like you're dealing with a wide range of issues constantly. There at any time can be the two biggest things, which are some sort of physical fight issue or some sort of medical issue. And guess what? You're on point for both of those things too. Yeah. And it's constant, right? And you're not sitting the entire time. You're constantly moving, at least the security people. And, you know, you're dealing with people upset that they, you know, you're just enforcing the rules, but, you know, you deal with different levels. I mean, I've had security people that have been physically assaulted for not assaulting them, like that just attack because they don't like the rules that are being tried to be implemented. It's terrible. And, you know, a lot of the time people are being asked to do that for close to minimum wage. And the thing about the security that you guys, you know, get that are the, again, what Goon Squad security, you know, they're a little bit more expensive, but the idea is like, well, we know the problem solved and blah, blah, blah. And that's a lot harder when you're trying to get that out of, you know, people that, you know, my team are like every single person that works, and I call it event staff, but you know, the security position, they are all music fans and they're excited to be there and they're excited to try to provide a better experience while also making sure that the rules are being enforced. And that's something that we've worked on, you know, together. Like, how can you be, you know, sincere, direct, and protect the rules while still treating everyone with respect and giving, you know, everyone gets a first chance at the get down. You probably get a second one. You have to do a lot. You have to do a lot, right? Or you have to do something really, really stupid. But even then, we're still politely telling people to leave. You know, that's just how we do things.
Yeah, we're not dragging you out by your hair.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, there was this discrepancy, and this is me and Andrew. There was a discrepancy that both of us had trouble getting past, which was, man, our bar staff and bar backs and, you know, our the production managers, and the sound techs, you know, the sound and lighting techs, they were getting a lot. They were walking away with a lot more money than security. And it's really hard because you have like 5 or 6 security people over the course of a long period of time, and you're billing that back to artists, or at least when it's a net. We don't have to get into all the deal stuff, but anyways, if you're including costs, etc.
Right.
And so I couldn't just keep increasing everyone's salary too much, though I believe that my hourly rates are probably higher or close to being higher. I've given everyone that has done a really good job at the Get Down a hourly increase within the first 3 months of being there, because I think that saying thank you for doing a good job when being a boss should involve a monetary thing, as opposed to the pizza party or whatnot.
I'm gonna make Kevin listen to this. Boss at work.
I mean, it's true, man. People like they move because of money. You know, we're all motivated
We're not
by
going
it.
there because we want to.
Yeah, we pay money to
It's
go there.
respect.
You're
It's
getting
respect.
like it's about money.
So something that me and Andrew decided to do, and people went to Get Down for like a month period. We tried to do a service charge, or no, sorry, like an auto grat or whatnot.
Oh, okay.
And the idea of why we were trying to do it wasn't to make sure that people were tipping the bartenders enough. It was because we can't include, in Oregon at least, we can't include staff that isn't working a tip job as part of the tip pool. So we couldn't include security. And so we were like, well, so, the bartenders are, and of course we didn't want to be just like pulling from them.
Yeah.
So we instead decided, okay, well, we'll do a service fee or, whatever, autograt. But then we're allowed to, right? Because then it's just an additional charge. Problem is, music venue, you're at a restaurant, they explained it to you, you're reading easily the numbers that are on your receipt. Yeah. Slightly different at a music venue. The numbers are squiggly, the words are weird. Like,
all of a sudden they're in a different language.
Exactly. And like the guy's saying something to you, but you're just trying to get out, like where can I sign to get this done? And the problem was people were leaving tips on top of it. And while my bartenders loved it for that, for that time period, it wasn't fair. It wasn't the correct thing. And then we're like, well, how do we do this? And so what we did is when we reverted back from the, basically, so the other thing that we did is instead of just adding 20% because we thought people would just get upset that their price was different, the menu also went up. And so at one point, everyone was like, oh my God, the Get Down got so expensive because everything went up by 20% because we weren't adding it, but we were saying, hey, it's added, but there was no signage in the world that got this across to people.
That's a hard concept to explain.
But it all stemmed from this. We were like, we have to figure out how to pay them. So then when we went to bring the money back, like, because we're like, this isn't working. Everyone just thinks we're too expensive. We're getting too many bad reviews. Like, I'm like, and people are overpaying and it's not working. But then I was like, well, what if we just, instead of bring it back 20%, we'll bring it back 16% and we'll leave 4% as a 4% raise and we'll give 4% of the bar profit to the staff. And so that's what we do. So the events, the security and the box office staff get a percentage of that high level. And I don't think that anyone else
So you hiring? Because I need to come to work.
Oh, damn.
That's, again, in the details. You're not missing the patron, the artist.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
We haven't even hit the big subject yet.
I know. This is why. Okay, Blake, I have to say this. Wait, do you want to say that real quick?
No. This is taking a totally different subject matter. I just want to ask about.
Okay.
Before we're done.
Okay. Well, I was going to bring it to a different subject matter too.
We're
I was
both
going to.
are.
Yeah.
Well,
Let's
go first.
Rock, paper, scissors for it.
1, 2, 3. I don't even. What is this?
That's paper.
Okay. All right.
I just see it all the venues. I've seen it there. I've seen it back in the green room and in line and in the venue. Up here in Oregon, and imagine any state where cannabis is legal, it is so hard to get people to understand why you can't smoke in a venue when you have alcohol. The OLCC regulations, I totally get it being in the cannabis industry, but I see everybody and people who dab and vape don't think that counts as smoke. How tough is that to deal with? Is it a constant with that?
So it's not difficult to deal with. And there's certain shows like we just had Groundation, right? And when you have a reggae show, we know what we're getting, right? We know we know that people are going to feel this way. I'd say it's harder with the artists a lot of the time because they really don't understand why they can't do it in the green room, right?
Yeah.
And so the way that it works with the OLCC regulations, basically they want, while it's legal and they operate both of them, they want them as far away from each other as humanly possible. And so, you know, we don't allow people to smoke in there because you legally can't. And one of the fastest ways to actually lose your OLCC license is by letting people smoke inside.
Yeah.
However, or next to the business, right? The thing about it is some places decide that instead of telling people not to smoke there, they'll just kick them out. And we obviously have no interest in doing that. So as I mentioned before, unless you're doing something really stupid, you get a warning at the get down, right? And, you know, with the vape stuff, it's, hey, you can't do that down here. And that applies no matter what you're smoking,
what's in there,
right?
yeah.
You can't do that down here. And, you know, normally people are just excited that we didn't kick them out, I think is what I'm seeing.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's really true because if you're excited, like, hell yeah, I'm not getting kicked out. I'll go outside and smoke and come back.
Problem.
So then now that person is more apt to do that instead of sneaking it.
Yeah. And so,
it's like a kid. Like you're going to test your boundaries until you get scolded.
Yeah.
Then you'll be like, oh, I got caught. We've had that happen at shows. It's like we got caught.
I never
Be
have.
good.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
what you're talking about.
and then for, you know, anyone that's smoking, you know, anything that has fire, you know, we just don't want that anyways.
Yeah,
right. And so, you know, if you do that, you know, we have to we can't just let people keep stuff that is lit on fire.
Finish with your fire.
Yeah,
Funny
exactly.
when you put it like that
It's
too.
true.
That's,
though.
yeah, that is funny.
It's just, you know, but I think that every single person that has ever lit up a joint in an indoor venue acknowledges that security might come and take it.
Oh yeah.
I don't think that they look at that as
You're
like, oh,
literally sending out smoke signals.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
come bust me.
You're asking for it, buddy.
yeah, exactly. And, you know, when it comes to even nicotine vapes, right? Like, sometimes people are just doing it because it's in their pocket and they're used to doing it all the time, you know? And that's, you know, a lot of the time people are like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. It's just force of habit. And you can see it in their eyes that they mean it. And then if you see him doing it a second time, it's like, well, now it's really a problem. But the thing is, it almost never happens the second time that much.
That's cool.
Or it's like right when people are walking out, when they're getting lazy and they're like, well, what's the worst they can
What
do?
are they going to do? Kick me out? I'm leaving.
Keep me out. Yeah. Keep me out while I'm headed out.
Yeah. So, you know, for us, like, you know, those types of enforcements aren't so bad. The green room is tough because, you know, it's a space that artists, I think, are more used to. And the legality of green rooms and how they operate is a really weird one. The best that I can describe, and I am not a lawyer, so, you know, apologize if I'm describing this incorrectly, but essentially the way that it works is, and this might just be like by default because of how they're dealt with and how, you know, they have to be a little bit universal across 50 states somewhat, you know, is, you know, that is for all intents and purposes, the artist's like room for the night, right? Like they're essentially,
Their
you're giving them
space.
their space. So think of it as like a hotel room, right?
Right.
You're not responsible for what someone's doing in the hotel room until
I
you see it.
Yes.
Okay.
So as soon as you
walk
see
in
it,
on- yes.
right. So like, you know, if you forget your do not disturb sign or you're doing it in the hallway or whatever, you know, or, you know, they come to clean up the next day, then it's a problem and they need to deal with it. And so it's the same for us where as soon as I see something, I tell them that they can't do whatever they're doing and, you know, tell them to either go outside or whatever they need to be doing with that. But, you know, when it comes to marijuana, especially some of these bands, they are used to it. I mean, I've seen a lot of the time bands will like get stuff like thrown at them on stage.
Oh yeah.
you know?
Yes.
Right.
And so you know, I've had to run out and tell people, no, you can't light that on stage and explain it to them. But at the same time, you know, we go about it the exact same way that we go about, you know, everything else down there when it comes to security is if you say it sternly, but politely,
Yeah.
most of the time people are pretty good at listening. to you.
Yeah. I don't think anybody's there to be a dick. Like,
No.
I mean,
No,
not say anybody.
But
Some
you're,
people,
we
most.
test our boundaries till you get scolded, and then it's like, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I want to talk about ticketing a little bit
Yeah.
because I know that's your deal. You have a passion for stopping what's going on with the, you know,
nightmare of
Unfair
Ticketmaster and
gouging.
the other gouging that's going on. And you have a unique viewpoint and plan. Can you take me through it a little bit?
I do, and I can. So, I'm certainly going to play this one a little bit from it's probably best not to talk too much about something before it happens. The evil, the evil plan, but in reverse.
Right.
But I will speak to, we talked about where I got into live music. Where I got into wanting to do a venue stemmed from also Radiohead, but it was trying to buy Radiohead tickets and getting upset with the experience of doing so. And then not understanding how a company that is so hated like Ticketmaster is able to have such a grip on the...
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so I did a bunch of research and realized that the way that they operate was something that I thought... when I read about it, that it wasn't going to be able to be stopped with the current market that was available to stop it. And basically there's a couple ways that I think that Ticketmaster, or, what's currently become all ticketing softwares for the most part, when it comes to, high fees, the secondary ticket market, all of those things, the current structuring, is based off of maximizing money within an industry. But the problem is the industry isn't live music, it's ticketing. It's created its own industry, it's its own entity. But the thing that makes it complicated is it does feed into the music industry.
Okay.
But it takes from the patrons and somewhat a little bit can take from the artist, though at the biggest levels it gets more integrated again. It takes from the patrons and then goes directly to, either venues or promoters or things along those lines when it comes to the fees. And so, even back then when I was reading about it, it was mostly venues. It was before FAC fees and all that type of stuff. And, all the other add-ons they've done. But back then it was just service. But what Ticketmaster came up with, and there's this great book called Ticket Masters. If you want to read all about the history and what happened there, I highly recommend it if you want to get really nerdy about the history. But basically what happened was, when electronic ticketing came out, it was 50 cents per transaction. I think people experienced this where they went to, it was like Sears and that type of stuff back then. You buy from like these kiosks and, so all of that. And it was a flat transaction. Logical.
Yeah.
A flat transaction.
One
even
ticket,
now,
this.
I don't think anyone would look at, a flat transaction now of like, $2 to $3 per ticket and be like, no, that's the price of running the software and that's cool. Like whatever. I think we get upset when it's 50% of the ticket and things around.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. The thing is what changed and what made it so that it became so integrated and what gave Ticketmaster this advantage is, at the time, Ticketmaster had a very small percentage of the market, maybe 10 to 15%, maybe 20%. And then there was this other entity, because this was all still like this was pre like the internet that we know it type of thing.
Okay,
like
so
this
like
is,
90s.
Yeah,
early
90s.
90s.
Yeah.
Exactly. So there was basically only one other, I think it was Ticketron.
Ticketron.
Yeah.
It was Ticketron.
Yeah. So there was one other entity essentially. And Ticketmaster basically came up with this thing, or this guy who I find this particularly interesting. I realized this while reading the book, but so he is an alumni from Clark University in Worcester, Massachusetts, which the person who came up, not the person who invented Ticketmaster, the person who came up with this concept. And the concept that he came up with is variable price fees, right? So basically what he said is, why don't we just charge a percentage for more expensive tickets and we give you a kickback of that percentage. So
Who's
let
the
us,
you?
so he said to venues.
Okay.
So he said, right. Cause they controlled the venue. So they don't control the ticket pricing so much. I mean, you throw out an offer and you say, this is how much it costs. And so what you do now is throw out an offer. This is how much it costs. But all the contracts have, hey, we use this ticketing service and there's this, and this fee. And those fees are just there, and they're essentially considered non-negotiable in the industry. So that's how that ends up functioning, but you get kickbacks, right? And so when it comes to venues, a lot of the time it's in the form of bonuses. So you'll get a bonus for signing a multi-year contract, right? And then you can still add your own fees on top. This is or this is post. This is now. You can add your own fees on top. But anyways, what he proposed at the time was, let us give you a bonus. It might have even been a small percentage kickback, or it was, some sort of large upfront cost. Because, venues, they have like the fluctuations between successful shows, unsuccessful shows, like, good touring months, bad touring months, all of that. Cash flow is the name of the game. And it's hard. It's one of the reasons that first 6 months was so stressful. So making it so that you have a more consistent cash flow, or at least in the coffers, is really important to venues, which is why when you go to the history of what happened with lawsuits and all of that, basically what Ticketmaster argued successfully was, hey, there's actually a ton of venues out there. It's not like we own all the venues. Like, there's a ton of independent venues. I mean, that's changed a little bit. But, there's a ton of independent venues out there, and they're all choosing to use us. And the reason they were choosing is because Ticketmaster pays the most money back to venues, because they then charge the people that amount back. And the problem with that model
They're
is
never losing out.
Well, and they could also say, like, well, we're doing the music industry a service because we're helping the venues stay open, giving people which
they argued, and that's why they I think the DOJ kind of screwed that up a little bit. But yeah, so basically what the brilliant part of it that also got me so afraid back then was, I was like, this model of bribing venues to let them charge people more money, because, to go back to passions, if you really want to see a show, if you can go, you're probably going to go, and you're going to figure out a way to go. And
dude, I just bought Sphere tickets for Fish.
That's exactly. Yeah. So their argument is that. And when I looked at that model, I was like, okay, either a bunch of artists can rally together and say no, and especially with the merger of Live Nation, which includes promotion being integrated, which is still one of the biggest crimes of any type of merger law. What is it? Monopoly. There you go. One of the biggest crimes against monopoly law. But essentially, what happened with this is, when I did the evaluation, it was Ticketmaster was going to be able to do this unless there was government regulation or some sort of big artist agreement
or something.
And I just didn't think it was going to happen. I thought that either of those things, like, I didn't have trust that, and this is 2008 probably.
Okay.
So where I decided that this was a problem that needed to be solved. And the only thing that I could come up with to do anything about it was to own multiple venues. And the get down is, ideally, if everything goes according to plan, a prove it venue, and then own multiple venues, and then start a nonprofit ticketing company. And then you can start facilitating more. And there's a lot more complications to it. And there's a lot more things that I have in mind, like even the secondary ticket market, how you might be able to change what a ticket is from a legal perspective. That's a whole other thing. I can go into that a little bit if you want. But
sure, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah.
All right. So the idea with that one is so the way the tickets currently work is, and the problem that I have with them is, it's this whole separate market. And one of the things that I think small to medium-sized venues and small to medium-sized bands all feel is that they're not making enough money. And the thing is, they're not. But it's not because there's not money in music. There is. It's just getting extracted from these other sources.
Siphoned out.
Right. There's a lot of people that are getting a certain percentage of this, a percentage of that, a percentage of that aren't necessarily key important elements, at least in my opinion. So one of the things that is really difficult is to figure out a way to make tickets not be this extra step. I mean, we all experience that with, the scalping situation's bad. Now there's just fake scalping where they don't even have a real ticket. There's, all of this complications and issues, etc. The idea that I have, if they they cared enough, this is fixable stuff. Especially we're talking about like blockchain technology and stuff like that. Like you can track this stuff a lot better. We're using old school barcodes and QRs. And like, yeah, there's some that are doing more than others, and that's great. But in terms of exchanging tickets, other than, you know, the failed, hey, you need this exact credit card, that type of stuff, I don't think that works as well, or you have to double check everything, because the problem is, of course, you sometimes need to miss shows, etc.
Yeah.
So the idea that I have around it, and this would be out of that proprietary ticketing system that would be built, is you essentially change what tickets are. And so the idea that I have is so if you go to any of my venues or a associate venue that wants to use this ticketing service, you would sign up for an account, and the account is free, and you need to be verified. And so there's a verification process, but the account's free. And when you go to buy a ticket, that experience is completely different. It's essentially the way that I would legally do it. And again, not a lawyer, but generally the concept is you would be a member of a private club and you have access to set show. And if you want to go to set show, you put in a request for the access. If you get selected for that, there's a cost for that particular night. And so you pay that cost, just like some of our favorite bands and their lottery process, but you do it for the entire thing. Now, if you want to transfer it to another member, you can do that, but it has to be tracked within the system. If you don't attend any shows, or you miss, 3 in a row, whatever the rule is, you make it so that that account is no longer allowed to do anything there. And again, with the verification element, you can track it. So the idea would be that it would be a lot more work. It's not fun, but if I learned anything from the Grateful Dead process, which goes into very good detail in that Ticketmaster's book, is this is the type of thing that you can find volunteers for. This is the type of thing that if people are passionate music fans and they want to help out, figure out who the frick the scalpers are.
Heck yeah, we do. I remember when we were talking about this at what concert was my favorite concert last year?
I don't know.
Was it Flaming Lips?
Flaming Lips.
Yeah.
When we were talking
Thank you,
about it
Blake.
at Flaming Lips,
Mel came home all hot.
I didn't care about Ticketmaster at all, but I was like, fucking Blake is right. We need to do something about this. And I felt it, and I was like, it's true. Like, if you don't go to concerts, who cares? But for the people who do go to concerts, and that's their jam and that's their thing, there's thousands and thousands of dollars that are uselessly being given to Ticketmaster or whatever that no one ever sees. And if it would be fine if they were getting that same exact money and the artists were getting more.
Correct.
It would be. I would have nothing to say about it.
Yeah.
But that's not the case, and the artists are missing out, and it sucks. So, or even if the venue was benefiting somehow, like it gets in these coffers, like you said, and it gets for updating or construction, or I don't even know, but it just you're right. People can become passionate about something like that because it's makes no sense. Like you said, the money's there. We're spending hundreds of dollars on one ticket for one night.
The thing that's really sad about it, and you already said it, is that as a music fan that's passionate about wanting to go to shows, I'm going to put up with it because I don't have a choice. My other choice is not going, and that's not a choice for me. So I'm going to put up with it, and they know that. So they're like, we're going to put the screws to you. We're going to screw them down as far as we can. It doesn't matter. You're still going to come.
It's the same as agreeing to it. You know what I'm saying? Like by you buying that ticket, you're like, okay, this is cool.
Yeah.
And when you have a monopoly on the ticket, oh, go to the other ticket company, get your ticket then.
Yeah, right.
That's
so. It's funny to me though, Blake, that the artists other than Taylor Swift and Pearl Jam haven't stood up.
Well, so I'll address that a little bit.
Okay.
So Taylor Swift in particular has a 360 deal because 360 deals kind of are industry standard now, and they're getting cuts of everything. I mean, there's huge money being funneled towards those top artists.
What does that mean, 360 deal?
So essentially they're all going to depend, but essentially what this was another like innovation or whatnot. And this only applies to the really, really big artists where there's all this revenue around, like, you know, their merch and all this other stuff. And essentially they'll just like prepay for all of it essentially. And they'll prepay for all of the tickets being sold already. I mean, part of it is because, so a 360 deal mostly was invented within it wasn't invented by Live Nation, but it's utilized by them. It might have been, I don't remember. I'd have to double check the book, but essentially when you have control of the fees and however amount you want to charge, you can give more than 100% of face value to the artists. Or artist management or whatever, because they're also the promoter, they're also own the venues, you know, they have vertical integration. And when you have that, and that's the monopoly part that's really egregious, they have the ability to do that. But that's why the pricing keeps going up, especially post COVID, because they're trying to make their money back that they quote unquote lost during that time period. Even though I think they made I think they had a record year last year. But yeah, it's essentially, you know, like all of those types of structures are, you know, at the biggest level, they had to start giving back to artists. But again, at the smaller level, like, you know, if there's a band that wants to do a $20 ticket, you know, at some venues, there's going to be astronomical fees. But even at my venue, because again, it's really integrated. It's a whole thing, and podcasts have certain lenses that I'm sure we need to keep to. But essentially when it comes to, you know, that percentage that goes, to either the artist or not the artist, the patron, from the patron to the venues, to the promoters, or back to the ticketing company. Those are the three kind of main ones that fees might be going to. That's taking away from what the artist feels comfortable charging, because they don't need to decide, does someone want to spend $20 on going to my show? It's, do they want to spend 28 or 30 or, you know, some places, you know, even higher, like, and, you know, that's part of that calculation. And, you know, for artists that, you know, are going to end up on the secondary market anyways, that goes away, right? Like you can just charge whatever because the scalpers are charging it or it's being sold directly at, et cetera. So that goes away. So that higher level is a lot harder. And, you know, you start someplace. Now, I'm not trying to suddenly open up 10,000 person venues or stadiums or whatever, you know, at least not at this juncture. Not yet. But, you know, that becomes a lot more complicated, and that, and you can also get targeted in ways that are pretty rough. I mean, one of the reasons, there are two main reasons why I opened up a venue in Portland. One is because it has no Live Nation Ticketmaster influence. And that is really, really important. In terms of being able to just set up shop and just start functioning. Because if I tried to do this in San Francisco or something like that, I'd get muscled out pretty easily.
Or have to make a deal with the devil.
Correct. Yes. And then the second reason is the liquor license cost is cheap. So while the OLCC is very, very tough to deal with, it's $800 a year here to have a liquor license.
So,
wow.
So
Holy shit.
It's like 300,000 where I'm from Boston, which is like Puritan style. So it's a limited amount. You have to buy them from pre-existing businesses.
Oh, it's like the cannabis licenses here now.
It's crazy.
So the Get Down is proof of concept venue.
That is the idea. Yes.
Oh, that's okay.
Not less proof of concept. It's proof of me being able to operate, because I have to be able to operate it successfully as a business, right? I need to get this business into the black. And then when I get the business into the black, then I can be like, okay, cool, I can do this.
Yes.
Let's do the next one. And it's a lot easier to raise money when you can prove that you've done something.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Look at this book. It's in the black.
Wow.
Okay, before we go, if there was somebody out there that is like you and is an entrepreneur and they're in another city and they're wanting to start a venue, and what are some of the, like, a couple of tips you would give them after the work that you've done in the last couple of years that you've learned the hard way?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, it's my goal of 15 years. And I would ask this every opportunity that I had for business owners, because, well, actually there was the name of the famous promoter who owns Brooklyn Bowl.
Peter Shapiro.
Thank you. Peter Shapiro wrote a book over the pandemic because he couldn't do other events. It's the first one that's by someone that owns venues, because people who own venues don't have time to write books. Is my theory anyways. Before that book, there was really nothing. I read restaurant books and bar books and, watched, whatever interviews I could find. But for the most part, those interviews were just like, don't do it. Like that was the only thing that I could find for like advice for venues.
Good luck, kid.
Just don't. Yeah, just don't do it. And even then, I got plenty of that advice as well from people that either were qualified or weren't qualified. But the good advice that I got is one was from this one, Vicky Mariano. She owns Electric Haze in Worcester, Massachusetts. And she was the first venue owner that I met when I had this passion. And she, gave me one. I was basically asked the same question, like, what's the one piece? She was like, have a really, really good booker like that. Like making sure you can fill the space is super, super important. So like, don't try to open and then figure that out later. Like, you got to have your person. They need to have the experience and, most importantly, the contacts in order to do it. Like Josh Pollock, my booker, like we got Mark Farina for our first show. If I tried to reach out to Mark Farina's agent and was like, hey, we have this new venue, please come play here, I would not, either wouldn't get a response or it'd be, who are you? No. Him doing it and having that relationship, that is how we were able to build to where we're at right now. And so that's super, super important. Another piece of advice that I was given is, if you can, add a shower. And so that is actually back there. But, when it comes to local acts or even regionally touring, doesn't matter as much. National touring acts matters a lot.
Yeah.
They care a lot about that shower being in there, and that makes a big difference. And it's not just a shower, but we try to keep it as a clean shower, which is also an advantage. We had a band come through that the sound tech right before leaving was like, hey, can I jump and take a really quick shower? I know it's after the show, but I'm like, yeah, that's fine. He's like, you wouldn't believe the showers that we see. He's like, this is one of the first ones that I've seen that I actually want to take the shower into.
Right on.
Please, like that's what it's there for. But yeah, so those two are really important. A piece of that I was given, advice that I would say is, whatever your budget is, you need more money. It's
That's just true in
Double it,
life.
triple it.
well, and that's the thing. So all of the business, I would say that the Get Down has followed, of all the business books that I read and all of that and all the podcasts, it's been pretty true to it. Like, I'm just now at the almost 2-year mark starting to be able to breathe. And the first 6 months was insane, especially, and that included the 6 months previous to opening.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you can survive 6 months and get to a year, you feel a little bit better. And then if you can do 1 year to 2 years, you feel a lot better. And it's not just the stats that back that up in terms of, those are the big milestones, but they feel that way. And one of the things that I realized is, so this industry, and I'm sure other ones as well, I'm sure the restaurant is pretty tied into this as well. They assume you're going to fail, right? So like the promoters, one of the reasons that you need the really good in-house booker is you can't just engage with established promoters out the gate, because they want to make sure that you're around in 6 months and know what you're doing. So they just won't do it. Insurance. So my insurance for my first calendar year, I got one company that would do it. One. No, I did. I used multiple brokers, which they hate, but I used multiple brokers to find me whatever deals possible. This is post-COVID, of course, so it's a little bit worse. But one that would cover us at all, $65,000 for the year for my first calendar year of being open. That is a very hard way to operate.
for something that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's like an untangible.
But required by my bank.
Oh my gosh. So like, you haven't bought sound, you haven't painted
done
one
shit.
thing, one tile, and it's like, here you go. Here's your first bill.
No, so here's the kicker.
Oh, no.
So this industry is built on guessing that you're going to fail.
Okay.
They required first month's payment and the last 2 months payment up front.
Because we want to get at least 3 before you fail in 6.
Correct. And so this will apply to being able to try to raise funding later, like all of that. Like stuff becomes a lot easier as you go.
Yeah.
So just try to protect not just your money, but your assets too. Like don't do something a year before because you think that now's the time or you're impatient. I mean, I can speak to myself. I was very close to opening up a different location in Portland. Then the pandemic, honestly, not only would the pandemic have been terrible, but it saved me from a space that wasn't as ideal. It was an old town. It would be a very tough thing to get people to go down in the same type of way. Older building, all that type of stuff. But I did get impatient. And I think that that's one thing that's really important is making sure that you find the right one, but also find the money beforehand. Don't try to make it work as you go. It's really important.
And I think going back to something that you said earlier at the very beginning, when you walked into that room, you knew. And so pay attention to your gut, I would say too.
Absolutely.
You have to pay. You'll know. It's just like with anything in life. You have your intuition, use it, and try not to let your head get you too excited when it's not right.
Well, 15 years to have a goal.
I was going to mention that.
Yeah, that's pretty patient.
And, the 15 years, I ended up really needing all of them. I think that throughout my entire life, patience has never been my virtue. It just simply hasn't. I got very close to managing a space on the East Coast 15 years, right when it's actually that same space that when before it was electric haze, it was spiritual haze, and it was just like a hookah bar that was moving to a new location. And I had come up with this, I'm gonna run venues, and then I met this person that was moving it to a new location, basically convinced them, not the person I was mentioning before, but the person who was managing that business, that I'd be the perfect person to manage it. I wasn't the perfect person to manage it. This 22-year-old Blake had no idea. He thought he was, though. He really did.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah, but we we found it. He found a location, and but that was also during a recession. It was early 2009.
Oh yeah.
That's
And
right after 2008.
And so exactly. So it ended up not happening, but it got really close. We were 2 weeks away from construction. I had a spot picked out. So I was like, oh, it's going to happen. It's going to happen so quickly. And then it didn't. And then I tried playing poker for a year just to maybe I'll hit big on a tournament and be able to make this faster. And then, I realized, okay, this isn't going to work and I need to get a real job. And so I went into corporate events because I thought that the events world, basically people told me, oh, well, if you want to work in venues, including my parents, who I love very much, but they very much encouraged me, you should go work in venues. And that's one thing that I will say, you could certainly take that type of path, but always looking for the things that will really hurt you in the long run by not knowing. You should know your local laws. You should know some of the finance stuff. You should read the books, do the homework, that type of stuff. And for me, so I did the corporate side, but I purposely took the stuff that I thought was going to eventually help me. And the knowledge that I gained in doing the corporate events was so, so, so important to be able to run the business that I do in the way that I do, and making sure that that's organized. And then the other thing that's, people say it all the time, but it's really, really important. If you're not the right person for something, and if you don't know much about something and that thing is really important, find someone who knows a lot about it and just go with that. Don't try to just force yourself to do it. If by doing it wrong, it's going to cost you a lot of money. I did my own website and I was able to figure that one out, and that's great. And that was totally fine for me doing it. But me trying to build out my bar without Andrew as a bar manager or without a sound tech to make the room sound good, you got to figure out the things that you can do and try to be a jack of all trades, but you also need to put down the scissors and let someone else do it at some point.
You need to know your limitations.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
That's excellent advice, Blake. That's really, really good advice. Because I remember in a previous conversation when you were here for dinner, you were talking about how you started to look at, took that job about looking at all the contracts,
Yep.
and that's something that, somebody wouldn't think to do, but that really helped you in the long run and in the short run, I'm sure. So yeah, man, thanks for that.
I'm excited to see what happens.
Me too.
I'm really excited, man.
Well, it's been exciting to be your friend through this time and see how it's grown, man. It's a really cool thing to see someone's dream come true. And I'm on your side, Blake. From now on, that's it. We got your back
because we're seeing it all the time. We mentioned it. It's like all these bands that we've interviewed, and once we have it, and we like, oh shit, they're coming to town. The Get Down. We're seeing that more and more with bands coming. Like, oh, I remember we saw them at Revolution Hall. Like, they're coming to the Get Down. That's exciting.
Yeah, man.
The calendar is something that it still gives me joy every time that I'm looking at it and just seeing this thing grow. Like, there's just some bands that are playing. Like, I'm so excited. Like, Ghost Note is just like such a big personal favorite.
Yes,
but I just like,
they're
so good. And like, the thing is, like, again, like there's that slow burn that for me, again, it feels like we opened up yesterday and it feels like we've opened up 10 years ago.
Yeah, no, I get that. I feel like that with No Simple Road.
Yeah. And but it grows if you can, if you can just, the business thing is true. Like if you just survive, it can grow on its own, but seeing the momentum that we've had from, those just the bookings alone and the volume of them, like as you said, like it is, and one of the reasons that I have to learn to not be there is because I physically can't at some point.
You're gonna fucking drop dead.
Yeah, exactly. If we're doing 5 shows a week, then we'll, that's just not going to be able to occur. But the quality of shows and the quality of musicians that are starting to be playing down there and seeing the room grow that type of way is really, really exciting for sure.
Well,
I want to ask one last question before we leave. Has nothing to do with the venue. What was your favorite experience last year on Jam Cruise?
Experience. I'll tell you my favorite experience. My favorite experience was, so we were on Turks and Caicos. It was one of the stops, and I'd never gone off the boat before because I always sleep. You kind of have to, on Jam Cruise, you pick and choose your battles. Like you can't do everything at once. And, you're docked from, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and music stops at about 6 a.m. And that's like the official music. And then there's still music and whatever. So a lot of the times I'm sleeping from 7 to 3 or whatever. But for Turks and Caicos, I really wanted to get off because I'd heard the water's beautiful and I just wanted food that wasn't cruise food. And so, Beth had, done research and found that we could rent 4x4s and drive to the beach. And I was like, okay, I'm in. And we went to this place that served fish and chips, and they did the fish and chips were with fresh caught snapper, and it was just so good. By far the best fish and chips I ever had. It was this this hut that's like the hut bar, big hut, but hut style bar that's literally right on the beach, gorgeous water or whatnot. But anyways, before getting on the boat, so it was my and Beth's 7-year anniversary, the day that we were sailing away, and me being in absolute chaos mode, of course, kept being like, I need to get a card. And I kept knowing that I needed to do that and kept not doing it. And so we fly to Miami and we stay at this really nice hotel. We go out dinner, all that stuff. But I knew I still need the card. And again, just was okay, I should go out that night, but I was with her. But I had told her already, just so you know, I still need to buy a card. I need to go do that. And the next day, before we got on the cruise, I went to the CVS that was nearby, and just all the cards were just garbage. And I'm like, okay, there's going to be some stuff at the gift shop, on the boat. I'm like, I'll just buy it on the boat. And so I get on the boat, and it's closed for the sail away, so it's not going to be open till the next day. And I'm like, I fucked up. So I go to Beth, and I'm just like, I screwed up. I didn't get a card. I'm really sorry. How can I make it up to you? And she was like, okay, I'm going to need you to serenade me with a song at some point of my choosing, around all of our friends. And she chose one time before the Turks and Caicos. She chose like 6 a.m. And I was like, I can't remember the lyric. I decided that the song was going to be I Will Show You the World, the Aladdin song. Yeah. And I was not in the headspace to remember words of a song, much less just English conversation. Like it wasn't there. So anyway, so we're on Turks and Caicos. We'd have the fish and chips. We're all hanging on the beach, and Beth goes, I think now's the time. And so I serenade Beth with that song on the beach, and it gets like the entire beach like paying attention to it and like singing along to the main chorus parts.
Shit.
And so it was just so that moment is the one that hangs in my head the most.
Yeah.
Beautiful location, anniversary, right on. I will show you the world. That's rad.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's
From a
good.
non-singer even.
Yes, again, Beth likes my voice. Would not say that most other people do, but I think that it was enjoyed that day. Luckily, I had people to help on the beach.
Right.
too,
Yeah,
so-
right on.
Yeah.
That was
All
fun.
right. Well, what did we learn today, Mel?
Your dreams can happen just that one more year. I'm sure at year 14, you were still, like, damn, I want to do this. But year 15. So just hang on to your dreams and don't stop dreaming them until they come true.
Apple.
Don't stop believing.
What else? What else did we
That's
learn
right.
today?
We learned that Blake is dope.
Yeah.
We already knew that.
Yeah, we knew that.
I knew that already.
No, we learned more about the Get Down, like the sounds that it just keeps becoming more special to me. Every time we go there, every time we talk to Blake, every time we interact with any of the musicians we know or anything, congratulations, brother. Your dream's coming true, man.
Yeah, man.
It just keeps happening.
And we also learned that Ticketmaster sucks even more.
Yeah,
So,
that too.
And I learned that Mayer Sound is in the
Meyer.
guitar. Meyer.
Not John Mayer.
Not John Mayer?
No.
Meyer.
Oscar Mayer.
Like lemons.
Yeah, Meyer Lemons.
Not John Mayer, Oscar Mayer. That's good. That should be their official slogan.
Thanks
All
for
right,
being on the
everybody.
show, Blake.
We love
it
you
was
all.
My
fun.
pleasure. Thank you, guys.
We will be back on Monday with another edition of the No Simple Road Weekly Rewind, the hardest name to say in podcasting. And until then, take care of each other. Smile a stranger. Safety third. Hydrate.
Love yourself.
And you know what? Don't buy tickets from scalpers. Go to Cash or Trade if you can't get on the thing. All right. Love y'all. Peace.
Like twist and turn, the mission turn, and it's a journey. Wish the word is many problems, but it's a burden. Felony just been deferred, and hell of me has been the earth, and alchemy can bring the birth, the melody of a newborn. So persistent, so resistant, so insistent, so commitment, so resilient, or haven't you learned it? No simple road. 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 My windshield is shattered as I focus through the spot in the corner that is still intact. The react is both a defense mechanism as well as a fear. We've traveled this road before, so we may think, but it's a tad bit of strange similarities that feed an A = A complex. The fears of your past do not equal the perplexities of the current road.
What's up, everyone? It's Joe, and I'm the host of That's Awesome with Joe, a podcast on the newly formed Sound Talent Media Podcast Network. I talk with tons of your favorite artists, managers, touring personnel, and more. Most of the time we talk about music, but lots of the time we end up talking about something completely unrelated. We laugh a lot. We do a lot of really stupid things, but also some things that are really informative and interesting. Basically, it's a podcast that I think you should listen to. Obviously, I'm biased because it's my podcast, but I think I might be into it if I wasn't the host. Check it out at soundtalentmedia.com.